Hello everyone, and here we have a new story. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and be sure to write comments in order to participate in the development of the community. Write how to improve my community, current topics and the stories you are interested in, and much more. I read and listen to all the comments. People write me stories by mail from different countries. There are problems with translation. I apologize for this. I will work on it and try to fix these errors. I want to thank everyone for their support and the people who wrote to me by mail, broadcast news stories. New videos on my channel are published once every 2 days at 7 p.m. Don't forget to put a bell in order not to miss new videos. And now, let's go. Hello, I want to tell you my story. This story began 10 years ago when I was 17 years old. I argued with my friend who would be able to seduce a completely unfamiliar girl faster. He had seen this girl only once in the general company. I accepted the terms of the dispute with great enthusiasm because I was young and hormones were hitting my head. In general, I lost the argument, but when I saw a strange girl, it was like I lost my head since I had more free time because I was a student. I spent more time with this girl while my friend was at work. Eventually, we started a relationship. One night, I woke up with a sharp pain in my head. I reached out and felt 2 bumps coming through thick hair. Without paying much attention to it, I fell asleep again. After the beginning of our relationship, just a month later, our ex-boyfriend, who was a criminal, is announced. He often took her for a ride in his car. It was the first scar on my heart. After a while, she admitted her mistake, cried, and asked for forgiveness. She said it wouldn't happen again, and she only loves me. Of course, I forgave her and welcomed her into my open arms. At that moment, my horns were proudly towering over my head. They were young horns that shone brightly in the sun. In the end, I scared off the scoundrel. By the way, he had been chasing her for quite a long time, but the happiness did not last long. A month later, a new boyfriend appeared who was not much different from her ex. Therefore, after a short time, she left him. She just got tired of him and hugged my young horns again. A serious problem was soon discovered. I discovered signs of venereal disease in myself. The scariest thing is that it was not one virus, but a whole bunch. After that, I was treated for 6 months and underwent surgery, then a relapse. But I lived with her anyway. I believed that it wasn't her fault that I was sick. It was only a few years later that she confessed to me that her ex-boyfriend had infected her. After all, several years of a happy life have passed. Everyone envied us and thought what a wonderful and happy couple we were. I was proud of her beauty, and she was proud of my intelligence. My faithful friend did not take offense at me for starting a relationship with her. But now I understand why he wasn't very upset. When he was my rival, I resented him and quietly rubbed my horns to shine. So we started thinking about getting married because our studies were coming to an end. I was trying to get out of the wedding. I said that I don't have money and I'm not independent yet, and so on. After a while, I opened my own small business. She has taken an exam and will study at a university located in another city. Of course, I can't go with her. I think you already understand what is going to happen now. It is quite expected that she starts a relationship with another guy. As always, I suffer and spend sleepless nights. After a couple of weeks, she gets bored with another toy. She starts calling me again and trying to find random meetings. Decorating my horns with ribbons, I make a romantic dinner in the park. My friend kidnaps her at my request and brings her to park. Of course, I'm asking her to marry me. She gently scratches my horns and notices that they have become even more beautiful and bigger. In general, we have a wedding. We celebrated the wedding on a big scale, so it took a lot of money. My parents even took out a loan. My parents as well had 2 apartments. My wife insisted that they give us 1 apartment. My wife was not at all embarrassed that there were 5 heirs in our family. Thank God my parents didn't do that. As a result, a year flew by after our wedding and our relationship came to naught. She often threw tantrums, cried, and missed her mother. We had very little sex, although I thought that regular sex was guaranteed to me after the wedding. After a while, my wife makes a decision and stops taking birth control pills and gives birth to a daughter. I had one girlfriend who I met after I had a relationship with my wife. In general, I liked her a lot and she liked me, too. At some point, we realized that we were in love with each other. As a result, we became lovers. This girl really loved me. Before she started a relationship with me, she broke up with her boyfriend and was ready for a serious relationship. At that moment, I realized that sex actually brings pleasure to people. It's just that you feel it when you both love each other. She was waiting for me to break up with my wife, but she didn't wait for it. A few months later, crying on each other's shoulder, we decided to end our relationship. At the same time, my wife turned out to be very vigilant. But of course, what is there to surprise the deer dropped its horns? She started to expose me. Of course, I confessed everything to her. She shamed me, put a bridle on the horns, and returned me to the house again. After a while, my business begins to collapse. I don't have any money at all. I'm in debt. Everything is very bad. At this moment, my wife, having fed our daughter and cleaned herself up a little, goes to the exam. Suddenly, my wife disappeared. I'm calling her. She's not picking up the phone. On March 8, I call her again in the morning to surprise her. But as it turned out, a surprise was waiting for me. Her next new boyfriend answered the phone. At that moment, everything swam before my eyes. My heart has received another blow again. As a result, I moved in with my friend for a while. I lived with him for a week and was determined to get a divorce. But my wife, after playing with her new hamster, threw it away and starts calling me again and asking for forgiveness with tears in her eyes. She pressed for pity and remembered our daughter. As a result, she connected heavy artillery and connected mother-in-law. They both brainwashed me. As a result, I put the horns back on and decorate them with ribbons. But after that, all hell broke loose. My wife realized that I was a rag and continued the affair with her new lover. She even started planning to move to another city with her lover. Finally, for the first time in my life, I realized that my nerves were not made of iron. On my friend's birthday, she walks away and starts a conversation on the phone. I followed her and tried to eavesdrop on the conversation. In general, I freaked out and lost control of myself. Thank God I didn't kill her. She got off with a slight concussion. A day later, she packs her things and files for divorce. Completely at a loss, I start reading the forums and stumble upon this YouTube channel. As it turned out, I am not the only one who has faced such a problem. After the divorce, I felt kind of better and I didn't even think about her for a while. However, feelings still come up from time to time. At these moments, I really want to see her. As I realized later, it was an emotional swing. During this swing, my ex-wife gets in touch again. She called me in tears and shouted into the phone that she loved me. She said that daughter misses her father and so on. To be honest, I also really miss my daughter, but for a week I ignored her, saying that I needed to think about everything. As a result, one of the sleepless nights, my head itched. When I touched my head with my hands, I was surprised to find my native horns there. In the morning, I painted my horns with ribbons and went to pick up my ex-wife and my daughter. We lived very happy for 3 months. Sex was daily. When summer came, we even went on vacation to the ocean. I polished my horns to a shine and we went to the ocean. Naturally, I hoped that I would have sex with my wife every day. But in fact, I had to beg her to have sex at least once a week. When we returned from vacation, I realized that this moment had come and I was tired of everything. But I didn't have the heart to kick her out of my house. Well, I understood that soon she would leave me again and I decided to prepare for that. I started working on myself mentally. I started paying attention to other girls and enjoying life. My horns began to slowly dry and crumble. Of course, my wife noticed that something was wrong here. She started making provocations, communicate with other guys, and so on. She also began to make scandals and tantrums often, but I stopped paying attention to it and began to develop my business. Since the beginning of this year, I've been going on a long business trip to another country for 3 months. She didn't believe that I would go on a business trip because she thought my business would fall apart again. But I will say that when people have a goal, they immediately find the means. As soon as I started to process the documents, my wife started making scandals. She said that I only think about myself. If I were thinking about my family, I would buy a new apartment. The mother-in-law also poured gasoline on the fire. In general that evening, my wife packed up, took our daughter, and went to her mother. I stayed at home alone, waiting for my business trip. As a result, I managed to sign a contract for a large amount of money. I decided to go back and sell my apartment, go to another city and start a new life. I did it as quickly as possible so as not to go back to my previous life again. I avoided talking to my ex-wife. Everything worked out for me. I live in another city. My business has gone up the hill. I got a new girlfriend and started going to the gym. My life began to play with new colors. We love traveling with my new girlfriend. By the way, I do not forget about my daughter and help financially. My ex-wife doesn't give up trying to come back, but I avoid dialogue with her. It's very hard for me mentally, but a new girlfriend helps me with this. In general, friends, do not repeat my mistakes. Run and don't waste your precious time. If you like the story, give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so as not to miss new videos. Now let's move on to the opinion of the author of the channel. The opinion of the author of the channel. According to tradition, I want to wish strength and patience to our hero. After listening to your story, I immediately realized that you had fallen into a maze or a trap. I do not know what to call it. This is an infinity from which it is very difficult to get out. There have been many such stories in my practice. You need to gather all your strength and abandon this person. You did well. You managed to do it. I understand that this is like a drug that is not so easy to give up, but all this is in our heads. You just need to realize that there are other girls who are much better and just start looking around. In fact, friends are a very deep topic. I won't be able to fully express my opinion here. But I will say one thing in such a situation, a guy needs to toughen up psychologically. When he takes off his horns and starts to keep the balance, the girl will become a servant herself. I think in such situations, you should immediately contact a therapist if you realize that you can't handle it yourself. If you have watched to the end, I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for shaping our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.